Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Collective Conspiracy Show. Welcome back, Andrew. It's been a while.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, Kieran. That's great.
Not a problem. I thought tonight we were originally going to discuss Pizzagate, but we've put that on hold. Mainly because it's the whole COVID thing has kind of kicked up a notch again in recent weeks, and we had the roadmap laid out to us. We've had the vaccines now being rolled out, and everything off the back of that has given us a lot to potentially discuss tonight. For those watching, thank you for joining. Whether you're watching live or at a later time, appreciate the support as always. Please feel free to comment, ask any questions of myself or Andrew in the comment section, or leave any feedback and thoughts. So yes, hi David, hope you're doing all right. So the COVID. So really, since we last spoke, which I can't really remember when, but we had a great show with Mark Conlon, who came on to discuss gaslighting and the effectively the abusive relationship that we were having with the government, and compared it to people that might be living at home in an abusive relationship, whether that be a man or a woman. And it was a really good, interesting show. And we discussed then, I think at the back end of it, vaccine passports. And I mentioned to you just before we came on air that I was watching one of our previous shows. I think this is the fifth COVID show we've done, and you'd think we'd be running out of things to talk about, but obviously not. And I think the first show we did was back in April, May, maybe, and it was we talked then about the possibility of vaccine passports, or health passports we were calling them then. And people laughed at us, and people have been talking about it for much longer than that, many a year. And we're now seeing it rolling out. What are your thoughts on health passports?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd certainly seen mention of it, I think, about a month into the first round of things, so April time, I think it was, because I dived into and did those reports. And I think the first one that I posted was like middle of April, so that was about a month in to the scam. And I know I mentioned it in there because it'd come up in the bloody Guardian, which has a philanthropic partner of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, if you go and look on the Guardian's website. So if you don't know these links between the parties, then it's quite easy to find them.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So and now, as you say, it's been I think there was a debate, some parliamentary debate, wasn't there, on Monday or Friday last week or something. I didn't follow it. I mean, just on that and a general theme of things, there's been these various debates, petitions, debates, of course, and then there's been these public consultations that they've done. There was one on human rights. There was one on using unapproved medicines. I think this is within the last year. Now there's been this one on not only the parliamentary debate, but there's one on the passports, the vaccine passports as well, which somebody sent me a link to. And I think the deadline for submissions to that is like Friday or something again. But I'm wondering what these things are actually for, because they're not, I think that it's just like lip service to a process. But they're clearly not actually saying, "Oh yeah, well actually, yeah, well maybe we've got to rethink this." That is not on the cards. I mean, just as a general thing, I was quite surprised when Gates was saying in April, we're going to get the vaccine out in 12 to 18 months if we're really fast, and then it was out before Christmas, so it was actually out in half the time that he said it was, and I was a little bit surprised by that. But
they came out at the same time though, didn't they? That's what got me. It was like they were like buzzers. Well, you're not going to get your freedom. Not for a while, not for a while. And then it was bang, 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 2 or 3 coming out all at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was almost like a pick and mix of vaccines. Which one do you want? Take your pick.
Right, and it's all like it's almost like they've got to sort of give the appearance of actually that, oh yeah, we're thinking about what we're doing, and we're going to do this. We don't kind of really want to do. Well, it's really necessary because of this, that, and the other, and it's like they're just going through the motions. and they're trying to pretend that it's still a democracy and it's a democratic process that's running things, and it's clearly not.
No.
You know, you can see that it's got nothing to do with democracy. It's got nothing to do with logic now, and maybe we'll come on to a few points which pretty much prove that.
Definitely,
really, it's not to do with logic.
Yeah. I think the vaccine passport was always a bit of a no, they'll never do that, because I've termed this conspiracy bingo, because it's almost like the powers that be have brought some kind of beginner's guide to conspiracies, and they're just ticking them off one by one. It's even my wife who used to laugh at me, this time last year and say, you're a nutter. Most of what you say isn't true. Even she's kind of giving me the side eye now in disbelief of most of what I've said is actually happening. And it's almost like they're just doing it, ticking it off conspiracy bingo. And each time I think we're getting closer and closer to a full house. But there was always the vaccine passport, and I always thought, I can't see them doing that. And then Israel do it, and they're calling it the green card or something. Make a slight change to the yellow star, but they've gone with the green card, and that's what they're rolling out now in Israel, which you need in order to go to concerts, to get into particular shopping, like malls, where you can go and buy clothes and stuff. And it amazes me, because how can you have a race of people who every year we must all burn candles to remember the however million Jews supposedly died in the Holocaust, and one of the biggest things out of that was the fact they were made to wear identifiable badges so they could be identified as being different. And now they're rolling out these green cards to everybody there, so the people that don't have them can be identified as different. I mean, we talk about history repeating itself, and I just see that, and I think that couldn't have happened to any other country, and it's Israel. I can't get over that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and I think those are very good observations. If they can do it there, then is that what you said right there, is that how a lot of people are reacting? In that, well, if they can do it there, they can do it anywhere, because they're supposed to have suffered this sort of injustice in the past and this sort of treatment, and yet they've just gone and done it there. The government's just imposed it or whatever. But then again, what's it really like on the ground over there? I mean, I've seen a couple of reports, and what I did was I've linked a video on my website today. I'll probably share a few links in a minute. And I watched a bit of this video about this woman saying, "Oh, we've been put this green card and la la la," and it definitely had a bit of a smell of. It was a really well-made video, and all sort of set up nicely. It wasn't just some, guy in a back office with a load of cardboard boxes behind him. Like me, it was a professional job. I did wonder, was this all set up and ready to roll as a package? A bit like some of the other things which I think have been set up and ready to roll as a package, to kind of move things along, because these people that are doing this are very aware of the different audiences and the different levels that people are at, and how they manage those groups and those levels and those bits of perception. They're very aware of that, and I think fear is obviously the rampant sort of thing running through all of it. For example, I noted back in 2009 that there was a big effort to create fear about swine flu, and then they started talking about vaccines. But then in the sort of truth movement type of thing, there was a big effort to create fear about the vaccine itself, and the same has happened again. There's a lot of sort of fear being stirred up, and I think what I mean is, I'm not saying that the vaccine is safe or anything like that, but there's been a lot of stories that have come out, and particularly this one that came out last week with this Geert van Bosch, who's meant to be a Gates insider, a BMGF insider, or Gavi insider. And he says all these vaccines, they're going to mutate, make the viruses mutate in people's bodies and infect everyone else, and it's going to kill thousands of people, And I thought, all right, okay, so his videos are not getting deleted off YouTube. But the woman that's critiquing him, saying, actually, I think he could be this could be another possible psyop, and on the inside it's her video that gets deleted off YouTube.
That's interesting.
So with this Last American Vagabond guy. So
do you think it's possible though? Do you think it's possible that what they do is they put these people in and almost they go to the extreme, don't they? You know, these people that talk about how the vaccine has nanobots in it, and you know, and of course the people that oppose our views will joke and mock us and say that, you know, if you get the vaccine, Bill Gates can control you and all that kind of stuff. And it's these extreme views that make people like us look stupid, and we all get tarnished with the same brush. So do you think that that's done on purpose?
Yes, I do, and you know, again, I've made a post in today. What I'll do is I'll share my screen and I'll show you a couple of things on there, because I can just sort of go through this. So I'm going to share this. So I've got it set up on the other browser, so let's just share that. So if you go to my website, I got checktheevidence.com, but I've also got my CV pandemic investigation website here, and you know, I've got lots of stuff on here. I've got some videos here, got some reports, and I've got, for example, this whole shebang of 2 hours of presentation, which explains the whole thing, what's going on and how it links into Agenda 21 and stuff like that. I've got some songs here. Van Morrison's, of course, done 3 songs. Eric Clapton's done a song. Ian Brown's done a song. Various others have done songs as well. So I've put all those on the homepage, and you can pretty much sort of get a lot just from the homepage. But then, for example, I've got this. Let's see, the story. When was it today? And I did put this. I did put the Israeli story on that one you were just talking about. I've posted the Israeli story here, and there's an article about it as well.
Yeah.
And you'll see it's quite a professionally produced video, quite a nice sort of photoshoppy graphic there, with obviously Netanyahu in the sort of George Orwell type 1984 thing. There's some work gone into that, and whenever I see a picture like that, I always think, well, somebody's put a lot of work into that. It's not just somebody who's banged up a video like I do, you know, in 10 minutes. There's probably a group behind that, and then I'll just sort of show. I won't go through the whole thing, but if you look at this woman, and you'll see like they've got this woman there, and he's in a studio, and I think they've got a nice shot of him with some books as well. There, look. So if you look at that shot there, there's quite a bit of work gone into that. So, you know, outcry to the world, all in caps. You know, I'm looking at those things as much as the actual content, and I'm thinking there's something else going on there. There's something else going on in that video, you know. So, but talking about one of the things, and there's another one about Piers Corbyn that somebody's done here, and this relates to what you were just saying, Kieran, about things being set up. And what they've shown in this video, it's not very well made. They've got quite a good graphic there, but the rest of it's a bit amateurish. And they're showing that he has been deliberately connected with some thug characters multiple times in some of the demos he's done and stuff. And so he's got the mad professor image, you know, and he's been on talk radio and stuff, and of course they're trying to knock him down, and he's apparently been arrested 5 times or something. So if you watch that video, there's a bit of background there, and I think it does show you how this is all being managed by the intelligence services, or, you know, Brigade 77 or whoever it is. If people aren't familiar with Brigade 77, they might want to look at that as well. And so they've
just go up a bit. Oh no, you're there now. That Michael O'Benicia, the one that's at the bottom of your page now. Yes. I wanted to talk about this tonight because this guy is keeps claiming that he's basically served papers, as you can read there, to Hancock, Whitty, Valance, and Ferguson, and I can't buy into it, Andrew. I think it's never going to happen. I mean, whether he's got the best of intentions, whether or whether he genuinely believes it's going to happen. You know, the problem is he's trying to bring the system down using the very system that protects the system, if that makes sense. You know, it's like trying to bring the Matrix down from within the Matrix. You could never do it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I just don't have any hope for that.
I sort of tend to agree. Now, he's been going a while, and if you listen to that interview with Mark Devlin, I think the thing that I found a bit disappointing with that interview is that he does say, "Oh, I've got all my detractors, and they're saying what Kieran's saying, that I'm never going to do it, and blah blah blah, and I'm not really genuine, and I'm this and that." And if you listen to the interview, he spends quite a long time doing that. But if you stick with it, he does actually start talking about the evidence, which I think that's what he should have done more of. He does say, for example, that he's got some evidence that links the whole pandemic being initiated by the City of London, or words to that effect. I think I'm slightly misquoting him. And I would be very interested to know more about that. Not that I can do much about it, but
I think that's the point there, Andrew. I don't think he can do much about it. I'm not saying that he doesn't have the evidence, because we've spoken about the evidence. Some of it's there for everyone to see. You don't have to do much digging. But I just genuinely don't think it's going to happen. I think what it does is it gives false hope to others. It makes other people almost sit on their hands a bit like the Q movement. People sitting on their hands thinking, "Oh, I don't have to worry because someone else is taking care of it, and it's all going to be fine." And I just don't feel like people should put too much hope into it, because it won't
I agree
happen.
with you, Kieran, unfortunately. And I think he's a good guy. I think, like you say, he's got good intentions. He's trying to do the right thing. But I think what it boils down to is ultimately a use of force. Now, Hancock, Whitty, and Ferguson, they're in positions of power. They have people around them who form a network of protection. Whether that's, for example, they can just ring up a journalist and get them to post crap about whatever or whoever whenever they want, and it will be done within 24 hours. They can get that done, and they can do it in a way where you'd never know it was them that instigated it.
Yeah.
Because they've got this wall of protection. And again, the courts, you could go to court with evidence, but what will the court do? Well, maybe the judge is actually a decent judge, and he will say, well, actually, we do need to study this case, so we'll move it to the next stage in 6 months or something. Or you get a really good job and says, no, we'll do it next week, and then he gets shot or something. Because or he dies suddenly, or he gets poisoned, or suddenly there's a sex scandal about him, or whatever it is.
That brings me on to the president of Tanzania.
There you are.
Which it's I shared a post, I made a post about this, and got shot down by someone who seems to just have any opposing opinion to what I have. But isn't it interesting that this guy tested the papaya fruit, he tested the goat. He was a staunch I'm not going to say he was a denier of COVID, because I don't think that is right. I think he was a denier of lockdowns. He wasn't a fan. He didn't agree with the PCR tests. He didn't agree with effectively what's happening here in England, and he didn't impose any of it on his people. Now, I understand that he was a bit of a bastard, and he there are other things where he was a bit of a dictator, but who's perfect? But in terms of COVID, he wasn't, shall we say, on the same team as the rest of the world, and all of a sudden he dies. Whether that's suspicious or not, I'm not saying, but I tell you what I can guarantee is the person who replaces him will be right in line with the rest of the world, and will follow the same guidance, and will be a supporter of lockdowns and a supporter of vaccines and testing. And so whether he was bumped off, I'm not going to say that, I don't know. But isn't it handy that the next person will have the right views, shall we say?
Exactly, and I think there was another leader that was replaced as well. This was a few months ago, who was doing similar things. He was sort of objecting to the measures, and then he was bumped out of office, or there was a coup or something. I forget which country it was. Maybe one of the listeners will know. But on that sort of theme, somebody sent me this meme today, which I think is pretty. I'll just show you this, because I posted it on my Facebook because I thought it was very succinct, and I just added a few comments to it that sort of relate to what you were saying about everyone conforming. And for those that can't read this, it says, Boris, obviously, Bojo, you see, when a political leader uses fake science and fake data to lock down a population and destroy an economy, he is either an enemy of his country or he is being held to ransom by those who are. And that was apparently Annie de Levert.
I'd say the latter. I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's probably true because, I can't get out of my mind the Boris Johnson being on Have I Got News for You? Or, I think he was on several times and clowning around.
Yeah.
It's like this is not the same person. This can't be that same person that was on that program years ago doing all of that silliness, and buffoonery and being made fun of. It can't be the same guy. I'm obviously speaking figuratively, but
I think you're right, and I think we made a point here when we had Mark on, and maybe back when Bruce was on, that he looks like a defeated man. I mean, he's lost all this weight, and he claims that that's because he's been exercising more and he's doing, he had COVID or whatever. But he just looks like he's got a noose around his neck constantly, and he's also done some strange things, Andrew, where he gave that one speech to the nation, where he sits behind that desk and it's just him and the camera, and he wore that tie with white rabbits on, and of course one of the common themes of conspiracy theorists is follow the white rabbit, or you're going down the rabbit hole. And you can't help but think, is that done on purpose? Is that his little kind of reach out to the populace? I don't know. I know, or I believe that there's been a huge fight, battle going on in Parliament between Boris Johnson, who originally, don't forget, take it on the chin, there's nothing to worry about, I'm still going around shaking everybody's hands in the hospitals and all this stuff that he was saying, and then his arch nemesis is basically Matt Hancock, who is the complete opposite, Dr. Gloom with his friend Dr. Doom, Chris Whitty, and I genuinely believe that there are two sides here, and we've seen a battle going on, and he's really kind of up against it sometimes, Boris Johnson. However, he is in charge of the country, but he never seems to be in charge of the country. When they do these conferences, he kind of looks towards Chris Whitty or Patrick Vallance or Matt Hancock as if to say, you tell them, because I don't really understand what's going on. And it's kind of the equivalent of having George Bush in power when they invaded Iraq. Put some dummy in charge so we can get away with whatever we want to get away with, because he won't stand up to it.
Michael Obenisha talked about an incident last week about, Johnson saying something in the presence of Whitty and Whitty having to sort of, ruffle his feathers and sort of, it was about the vaccinations. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he mentioned that Martin in the comments has talked about he's put the link to the Michael Obenisha.
Yes, I'll just quickly flash that up. Cheers, Martin.
Yeah. And, you'll find that on the various website, and that it's probably worth listening to that interview, I think, because he does mention this sort of not altercation, but this kind of ping pong between the two guys, which sort of is to do with what you said as well. But I think what I want to take the opportunity to do, and we may have discussed this last time when we talked about the COVID crap, but there's new stuff has come out since then. So I'm just going to show people this, because I think this is really, really powerful to show that there was no pandemic in the UK last year. And this is now from the Office of National Statistics, Freedom of Information request. The URL is on my CV Pandemic Investigation website. Anybody that wants it or can't find it, I'll send it to them if they contact me through that website or check the evidence. And what we see here is the figures for the total number of deaths, all causes, and the population in that year. So 2020, we had 608,000 deaths, all causes, UK, 59 million population. And then if you work that out as a percentage of the population, it's about 1%. It's just over 1%. But sadly, for the government and for anyone that still believing there was a pandemic, go back to year 2000, 537,000, population at 52 million. It's over 1.2% of the population died in year 2000. No pandemic, folks. Right?
And the ratio of that would mean that obviously more
right,
because it was a less population, but
yeah, correct. So it's like if you have it, if you have a I'll just go back to the thing, and if you have an island with a population of 100 and you say 1% of the population died, that's one person. Whereas if it's 1,000 population, then it's 10 people, isn't it? So you've got to do it on that basis. You can't just say the most people died. It's as a percentage of the population. And the other reason why we know it's not a pandemic is because of the hospital admissions. Now, I saw a post from Joe Quinn from Northern Ireland where he went and got the hospital admissions for most of Northern Ireland, and some of the hospitals were down in admissions by up to 40% on previous years. I found this on this, what do they know? This is an official Freedom of Information request response from University Hospitals Derbyshire, or Derby or Derbyshire. All sites admissions in the 3 month from January 2019 to October 2019, 195,000. All cause admissions from the same period the following year, 140,000. That's a drop of 28%. So if we've got the same number of people dying as in 2020 in proportion to the population, and nobody in the hospitals, or less in the hospitals, where are all these pandemic victims? There are
and well, no, there are none. And the thing is, we've spoke about it before, that you only have to just walk outside, just get from under your bed for a sec. Because I realise that there will be people watching this as part of the Keep on Chatting network, and you're always welcome. But you might not have the same opinions as myself and Andrew, and you might be thinking of it differently, and that that we respect that. But when you see things like this, it must be putting things into perspective for you guys, because imagine if you went to the shop now, Andrew, and no one was wearing a mask. You wouldn't know that there was a pandemic. Right. And I genuinely believe that things such as that, and the signs that are on the doors, and the signs that are all over town, saying stay local, keep 2 meters apart. A true pandemic doesn't need this 24-hour propaganda, this 24-hour marketing campaign to constantly remind you that you're in a pandemic. Because you would know someone that's died of it, a family member, or you would have been close to dying from it yourself. And that's that when you watch the news and you hear these press conferences and stuff, you'd be forgiven for thinking that it's almost like the Black Death, the plague. But it really, really, we had those pictures of people in China falling over flat on their face. That just looks stupid now, because it's never happened. Never happened in this country. And definitely never happened in this country. So it just looks silly now. People watching that must think we've been duped. We've been done over here. And now we move on to the vaccine, and people are, I'm getting it because I'm going on holiday. And someone said to me at work the other day, well, don't you just want things to go back to normal? Well, yeah, but that's blackmail, mate. Having it just so you can go and watch the rugby or whatever is blackmail. And he couldn't understand that. He got angry when I used the word blackmail, because I think I'd struck a nerve. And I think subconsciously he probably realised then, shit, actually, I've been done. And no one ever mentions I'm having the vaccine because I'm scared. I'm having the vaccine for my health. I'm having the vaccine to go on holiday so I can go for a pint, so I can go and play football or whatever.
So let's just take it that this vaccine supposedly works. I mean, we were sold that this was going to be the way out. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it was the roadmap out. Yeah,
meant to be part of the roadmap out. Mm-hmm. So this should all end once we've got the vaccine. Those that want it, we get enough people having the vaccine. Great, end of. Well, what does the government know then? Because, for example, to give you one example, this is something that popped up. This is a tender for COVID public information campaign, right? Publication date 18th of March 2021. And it's a total value of procurement £2 million. And as you see here, it's a contract duration for 2 years. How do they know? Surely it'll all be over by then. We don't need to worry about COVID anymore because we've got this vaccine. We've got 2 vaccines, in fact, haven't we?
Yep.
So take that into account in your observations and thinking. What about this vaccine then? Well, here is, again, this is all government information. This is not conspiracy theory. It's government information. I was sent a, get your vaccine letter, which I didn't reply to. My wife's had a letter and a phone call, and this information came with it. And it tells you about the vaccine. Will the vaccine protect you? The COVID vaccination will reduce the chance of you suffering from COVID-19 disease. It may take a week or two for your body to build up some protection from the first dose. The vaccine has been shown to be effective, and no safety concerns were seen in studies of more than 20,000 people. Oh, really? Well, we'll revisit that point in a minute from another government document. No vaccine is completely effective. Fair enough. That's a fair comment. But then you go down a bit on this information. This comes with your letter. To protect yourself and your family, friends and colleagues, you still need to practice social distancing, wear a face mask, wash your hands carefully, and follow the current guidance. So what is advantages there in having it? That's
the giveaway for me, Andrew. Anyone that sees that must just think, well, there's no way out, is there?
Yeah. There is no way out because the vaccine is not meant to be the way out. They'll tell you it is, just like they told you with the pandemic. It's another big lie. It's another big lie. Right, so let's go on to talk about the actual statistics, shall we? New data show vaccines reduce severe COVID in older adults, it says, and you can read that short posting on the government's website. That was on the 1st of March, right? But let's have a look at their data, shall we? This is the COVID vaccine AstraZeneca analysis print, right? We go through this. This is a database that they've printed out, or a spreadsheet, whatever you want to call it, set of stats for the AstraZeneca vaccine, right? I think it's just loading up the rest of the document. My computer's struggling to display it all. You go to the bottom, about a couple of pages from the end. This is a government website. Look at the URL at the top, service.gov.uk, and you will see at the bottom, just for the AstraZeneca, total reactions for drug, 228,337. Fatal, 289 people have died after having this AstraZeneca vaccine. That's just the AstraZeneca one. What about the Pfizer one? I've got that here in the tab. Here we are. Same deal, same government website, same sort of data for the Pfizer vaccine. This is all public information, folks. This is all public information. Go to the bottom. Total reactions for drug, 100,000. Total deaths, 237.
What's the percentage there, Andrew? What's 237?
Well, I don't know how many people are vaccinated. I don't know how many people.
No, but it would surely, in order to die from it, you have to be in that reaction.
But total. It doesn't matter, Kieran. All these figures, don't worry about them because we're going back to normal, aren't we? And, what you've got to do is say, look, this has come from Norway. I would love to die from the AstraZeneca vaccine. That's a story that was published on tv2.no. There we go. Look, there's the link. Google Translate. tv2.no. Here we go. Here it comes. I would love to die. There's the Norwegian, and it's going to translate it in a minute. I would love to die from the AstraZeneca vaccine. What's going on, folks? This is evil. This is evil.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
And then we have another story, also from Norway, I think. Yeah, professor on suspected vaccine side effects. The cause has been found. The experts have examined the 3 hospitalized health workers who believe the AstraZeneca vaccine triggered a strong immune response. One of the health workers died, and he says it's definitely the vaccine. So this is where you get in this fear, these stories saying the vaccine's going to kill you. So you're getting one side of the media saying it's going to save you, and the other saying it's going to kill you. What sort of conflict is going to that? That's just what we were talking about with Mark, isn't it? It's the same thing, but it's the next level up. It's the next level up.
Yep. Yeah, and the thing is with the vaccine as well is they're talking now about the vaccine shortage. So of course Matt Hancock and NHS supply chain said last week that there was a vaccine shortage, and then straight away the vaccine manufacturers, so Pfizer and AstraZeneca, came out and said, no, there's not. Don't know what you're talking about. Now, Richie Allen made a fantastic point here because he basically said exactly what I was thinking. And that was, there isn't a vaccine shortage. What there is there's a shortage of people wanting it. Yes. Because as they're coming down the age groups now, the categories, they're getting now to the 40s and the 30s. The people who just don't feel like they need it. I'm 31 and I don't have the flu jab. Why should I have this? And I think what they're trying to do is protect themselves. So in a few months, when not that many people are having it, they can say, oh, no, they're not having it because we don't have it to give. Well, actually, no, that's bollocks. What's actually going on is you just don't you don't have anyone to give it to, essentially. And I think they're trying to cover their own arses there by making that story. And they were shown up by the manufacturers coming out and saying, don't know what you're on about. You know, we've got plenty in supply. I don't. And of course, now it's being used that actually Europe are holding it hostage against us or whatever, and the whole Brexit thing comes into play there. But I think there was a fantastic document that I shared as part of the Collective Conspiracy Show. And if you go on there, you can find it. Loads of people shared it. I think maybe you did as well. And it was the NHS document about how they could potentially manipulate people into having the vaccine. And it was interesting because it basically had big groups that they were focusing on. So people that worked in the care sector, people that worked in the NHS, and then one section was young people. And so, you know, talking about myself and younger, essentially. And it basically said that they should use certain tactics, like stressing to them the importance of getting back to normal. And they mentioned things like going to events, going to sports matches, going to all these things. And basically, again, blackmailing them or coercing them and saying, look, if you want to go to Ibiza again or Magaluf, or you want to go and watch your favourite sports team, you're probably going to have to get this vaccination. And then it even says to focus on, and I'm ad-libbing here, but check it out yourself, to focus on guilt-tripping this person
that's right.
into how bad they might feel should they potentially infect a loved one who then dies because of their actions of not getting a vaccine. And I just thought, this is filthy. You know, this is disgusting tactics. And again, I repeat what I said earlier, a real pandemic does not need these kind of tactics. It just does not.
Correct. All of the tactics that they're using show that the pandemic is fake. It must be fake. And the figures now show it's fake. So how, 6 ways to Sunday, you can show that this is not what it appears to be. Yes, people have died, but that happens every year. You know, my wife, she's a retired NHS nurse of 30 years. She worked in paediatric intensive care for almost as long as that. And she would see this happen every winter with people, on trolleys in corridors, when they got a really bad flu season going round. It happens every 2, 3, 4, 5 years, where they get overloaded. That's nothing new. Now, I've lost 2 family members in this past year, so just because I, say this isn't what it's claimed doesn't mean to say I haven't lost anybody in my family. I have, but it wasn't to COVID. I think my sister died of pneumonia, but it wasn't because of COVID. It's because she had other problems, which have been going on for about 3, 4, 5 years at least, up and down in that, because she was 74, So people that want to come to me and say, oh, you haven't lost anybody. Oh, I have actually. So, don't jump to conclusions, and don't jump to conclusions about what is behind all of this. Those figures are official government figures, and they've been trying to exaggerate them as well, as we know. And you can see evidence of that if you look at the various ways that these have been put together. But that was not a pandemic. That's not the same as saying that nobody died. Yes, people died. Yes, more people died in 2020 than in 2019. But as a proportion, putting things into perspective, it was really not that different to
but don't forget as well that the figure, the number of people dying from things like influenza, pneumonia, the flu have completely vanished. Now, imagine if we'd had just the normal cases of the flu overwhelming the hospitals, because you only have to type in any year and NHS being overwhelmed, and you'll find some newspaper article telling you that they're at breaking point, 2019, 2018, 2014, 2009. They're always at breaking point every winter. And now, if we were in a true pandemic, we would have the flu, we would have influenza, we would have pneumonia with COVID on top, and then the NHS would be bursting. But as you say, the numbers don't show that. So where has flu gone?
Yeah, that's right. They even said it in the Independent the other day. There was the flu has disappeared. What they've done is they've reclassified flu as COVID.
Absolutely,
it's the only explanation. It's not because everyone suddenly stopped inside and become healthy and not got these respiratory illnesses. In fact, there's probably more of it because they haven't got the vitamin D, because they haven't got the sunshine and all of that. They're just they're lying everywhere, and the problem is that the media are in on it. This is what people don't understand, and it's been like that. I really discovered this big time when I was researching 9/11, that the media were really in on it. Some of them knew. I think there's some people in the media, for example, who know what really happened on 9/11. Not many, but there's a few. And they've deliberately managed other people that know bits and steered them away from the true explanation.
Yeah.
I think there's a few that know that.
And that happens now. Yeah, it happens now. And the problem is, Andrew, that the media, what I've found and what I've noticed more over the past few months is they're almost like the mouthpieces, obviously. But what I mean is they will put things out, like we're hearing today that, experts say is that masks and social distancing will be with us for the next few years. And I think what they're doing is they're gauging a reaction. What will the public think about that?
Yeah.
How many times now do you see
all the time
that Good Morning TV or whatever that crap's called has some kind of poll on Twitter? They're gauging reactions, and we know that Boris Johnson loves a poll, and we know that the government love to see through Brigade 77 our behavioural actions and how we react to certain things, and then off the back of that they will then decide what they're going to do, and it's a form of gaslighting, really. But I genuinely believe that what they're doing is they are just putting the feelers out there, social distancing and masks for the next few years. How do you feel about that? And then just see what happens.
And of course, what we should be aware of too is that the people that are running these things, are probably getting real-time feeds from Facebook and Twitter, because they'll have AI systems that can sample keywords, language usage. This is something that a chap called Cliff Hires talked about. So what you said right there, they're doing that in real time. They've probably got graphs appearing on some screen somewhere, and they think, oh, well, right, we've got this site packaged and ready to go. So we'll put that out in Germany, and we'll put this out in the UK. We'll put that out in, Tanzania or something. And they'll roll out these packaged psychological operations to steer things the way they want to steer them, And, I think that they rolled this out, the whole COVID thing, because the climate change thing was going to be too slow for them.
Yeah, I agree.
And we've now seen that came out in sort of June, July time, I think it was. They admitted the links between the COVID scam and the climate change scam. The World Economic Forum have put that all out. This was highlighted on Sky News Australia. And again, Agenda 21, look at that. Look at the Sustainable Development Goals. There's a government document on that. I'll see if I can bring it up. But if I can't, if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals as part of Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, which is a UN thing, guess what? There's 17 of them. And guess how many involve vaccination? 14 of them.
Yep.
14 of them involved vaccination. So isn't that convenient if they've got this Agenda 2021, 2030, that this climate change thing they wanted to get in? Oh, isn't it convenient that 14 elements of that tie in with vaccinations?
Yeah, and we spoke about that on one of our earlier shows, how, and it wasn't long after that they started to put out headlines like, maybe we should have lockdowns in the future to help reduce air pollution. And, people saying, oh, look how cleaner the seas are and how cleaner the air is because people aren't traveling to work and all this stuff. And of course, and that's when it kind of struck me, hang on a minute, this is all linked. This is one and the same.
And here's the proof. This is the proof. This was published in September, actually, so I was a bit late to the game on this. This I picked up from Facebook as well. People knock Facebook, but I've picked up a lot of good information that people have shared. This is the where Facebook is bad because obviously they're collecting data about you, but we're using it ourselves. Somebody posted this: financing the 2030 agenda through COVID-19 and beyond. It's right there on the government's website. They're telling you what they're doing.
It's again, but the thing is, there'll be people watching this that, as I say, and I respect their opinions, and it's fine. And I don't, I'm not going to I don't fall out with people over stuff like that.
I try not to as well.
But you must be looking at that and just thinking, hang on a minute. That in the last 15 minutes, we've shown you figures, we've shown you the total number of deaths, we've shown you how the vaccines have caused reactions and deaths. We're now showing you how it links to climate change and Agenda 2030, which is a conspiracy, but it's actually an official UN document.
It is.
What more can not only us but other people who are doing the same? What more can we do to prove to you that this isn't what they're telling you it is, you know. And the second we say no, and the fact that they're saying now masks, vaccines, masks and social distancing must stay with us for the next few years. And then today Boris comes out saying we will have a third wave. Where? You've vaccinated you've vaccinated 99% of the vulnerable people. You know, so who is this third wave going to affect?
Yeah. So let's have a quick run through then. So the masks we didn't have to wear at first, then we did, but they don't work.
Yep.
We came out of lockdown and went back in again, so the masks don't work. So that doesn't work. Then we said, oh yeah, we just got to get the vaccine. So the vaccine's out now, and that came out early. And they've claimed that this reduced deaths. There was another link card up on there. I think I showed it briefly, didn't I? Where it says a new data shows vaccines reduce severe COVID-19. I did briefly show that.
100%. They came out today and said that it reduces symptoms 100%.
But we're still in lockdown, and
the threat of a third wave.
Yeah. So.
So all those people, who were going out getting jabbed, well.
It must be our fault, Kieran. We don't wear the mask. We don't have the vaccine, so it's us.
But we're still alive. We're still here.
Oh yeah, I'm fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I say, it's just we mentioned briefly off air before we came on that there's been estimated 100 to 150,000 people on the streets of London the weekend, and that was just London. And then you have it was happening all over the world. It was great to see the videos of even in countries like Switzerland, thousands of people on the street. People are beginning to just get frustrated with it all, and you go back to Trafalgar Square, which was I can't really remember, maybe last July time, and you probably had about 40 to 50,000 people, which at the time was, wow, that's fantastic. But now it's more than doubled, and there's another march planned in 2 weeks' time, and it will be interesting to see if those numbers increase again, because I think what we're seeing is the physical evidence of people being frustrated, and you listen to the BBC. Actually, one report actually said hundreds of people are marching, hundreds, and then one photo alone, you can tell there's more than hundreds.
Yeah.
Why the misrepresentation? Why the lies?
Yeah. I mean, where's it going to go? Well, it's not going anywhere until, for example, we see at least one of the mainstream media channels taken offline. BBC, ITV, the Times, or whoever. It's got to go. They've got to go. They have to be shut down because they are the main route. The Sun has got to be shut down. Daily Star shut down. Daily Mail, that's got to be shut down as well. They've got to be all shut down. I mean, it's not going to happen, but if it did, we might be in with a chance. I'll just say that when this kicked off in March, I completely switched off. I mean, I used to listen to Radio 2 quite a lot, just in the background of things when I was having my lunch, and eating tea. Off now. That's not been on in this house for a year. I will not put any BBC Live, anything with news on it in the house anywhere. I won't have it on. I just play my own music now. I might have said this last time, because it's just and even the adverts, it's now percolated right down through the adverts. You've got people walking around in masks in these adverts that have nothing to do with COVID, Amazon warehouse shots. My wife watches TV most of the day because she's kind of stuck inside, and it's just all full on. So, I don't even have the radio on now when I'm going out in the car. I just switch my phone on with my music collection on, put the thing on, have that on. Completely off it, because that's the world I want to have now, with no broadcast media coming in that is not, that I know from somebody that I trust is behind it.
Yeah,
and they know what's going on. They know at least some of what I've shown you and what they're up to, right?
Yeah.
And you got politicians. You fill in all the petitions you want, talk to the politicians. They cannot and will not admit the truth until the media has been shut down.
Yeah.
That's what we've got to get to. If the media is shut down, then we might be able to sort of start the politicians saying, it's not going to happen though. It's not.
No, the next best thing is just non-compliance.
Yeah.
It's like I say, it's beginning to happen. I mean, my dad had a bit of a birthday bash on Saturday, and there were about 10 of us or whatever round there. We had a big barrel of beer, and it was great, just like normal times, everyone shaking hands and having a laugh and stuff.
Brilliant.
And it, for the briefest moment, the 5 hours or whatever, it just felt normal. And then you get home and you wake up the next morning, you put the telly on, and you're back in a pandemic again. And it's, I think, just non-compliance, not listening to the radio, just not paying attention to it, and just going about your life. Because for everyone watching, you've seen the statistics we've just shown at you. What more do you need? And as I say, if you were to go out and nobody was wearing masks, you wouldn't even know we're in a pandemic. Yeah. And that's the reason they keep these measures in place. It's to remind you, as a visual reminder, that we are technically in a pandemic. And we're not. We are not. And now we're told that 99% of the vulnerable people are vaccinated, if not more. They've vaccinated 1 in every 2 adult now in the UK, supposedly, and yet they're talking about masks, social distancing being here for a few more years. They're talking about a third wave coming and hitting us soon. And you think, well, but why should it? Why are we still in lockdown? And at what point are the people left still believing this going to sit up and think, no, hang on, no, this just isn't right. It's just not right. And the way out of it is to just say no, to just not comply, to go around your friend's house for a party, to do what you can. Don't wear a mask in a shop because it's not legal and they can't do anything about it. And I don't know what else we can say, Andrew, because there is no more to say.
I mean, what I've been trying to do is do my own thing. And one of those things, I've written these reports and stuff, which have, quite a few people have expressed an interest in. And there's a chap, for example, up in, he lives in flipping Joe Cox country, actually. And he's been giving my reports to various people that he knows. And it had some small effect, I think. I've also got, I'll show you some leaflets if anybody wants leaflets to give out. I'll just try and show you these, but I'll do this first. So what I did on the theme of getting the media shut down, I know it's a crazy thing that I'm saying. I'm not naive to think that anybody's going to do it. But what I did was I wrote to Ofcom, I put some of these points together in a list, and there's a load more as well. Like, even if people do get sick with this, whatever SARS-CoV-2 is and what COVID-19 is, it can be treated. It can be treated with hydroxychloroquine. I'm pretty sure we covered that last time.
Yeah,
That's all documented. The WHO says don't wear masks when exercising, for heaven's sake. There's a thing on their website that says it, So anybody that's doing a job that involves physical labor should not be wearing a mask. End of. That's on the WHO's website, for heaven's sake. So I sent all of this and I said, look, the BBC is not putting this out. Shut them down. This is a total destruction of the health of the nation. BBC, ITV, shut them down. Suspend their broadcasting license. This is why. Now, you can do that. You can go onto Ofcom's website. You can submit a complaint. You can send a complaint to the ASA. Is anybody going to read it? I don't know. But it's better than doing nothing, is all I can say. And it doesn't cost you anything. If you've got a computer, you can go onto this page. You can go to the links. You can copy and paste the text that I've used. You can add your own. You can do your own thing, whatever you want. But at least you're doing something. And this is what I do, rather than listening to the adverts and crap and all these bloody Radio 2 DJs talking about nothing. I'd rather do this and try and hammer them than just listen to that, that droning.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a heavy cocktail of doing this and just living your life,
Yeah, exactly.
just living your life. I mean, we've been going to the park. It's been nice, the weather lately. We've been going to the park on the weekend, taking Larry, and it's nice to see him kind of interacting with other children and whatever. And and it's for like I say, for the briefest moment, it just feels normal.
So that's it. So if you don't feel like doing this, I think you're dead right, Kieran. Just live your life, do what you can. Go to the park, go out on your bike. Take a bus ride somewhere. Just tell them you're going to work or something.
Yeah.
Just get out there and sod them. You're not spreading anything. You might be worried. that you've been taken in, but there is no pandemic. There's nothing to worry about. Nothing is any different from what it was in February 2020.
Yeah.
The only thing that's different is people's fear level, and they've been reprogrammed and dehumanized. That's the only thing that is different.
Like
right?
I said before, where were the mask wearers the day before they were mandated? If people were genuinely scared, they would have all been wearing masks then because they were available. People were, but a very small percentage. The second it's mandated, everybody's wearing one. They're not wearing it because they're scared or because they actually care. They're wearing it because they're scared of confrontation. They're wearing it because they're scared of being told off by Susan in Sainsbury's. That's what they're scared of. And the government know that, of course, as David Icke says, we've out sheep the sheep.
You don't want to wear a mask in the shop, same exempt. Who cares? Who gives a stuff what other people, you get some frowns from them? There's none of their business. You go into that shop, if anyone says, oh, no, I'm exempt, you don't need to say a thing. I haven't worn a mask at any point. I'll tell you, I lie. I had to go into the hospital with my wife. I wore a mask for 10 seconds in the ward and there were loads of the people there. Then I took it off. Nobody said anything. Nobody said anything. Now, these leaflets, I've got about 5,000 of these. If anybody wants them, they can go onto the website. This is about the vaccine. This was actually sent to me by a health professional who wanted to remain anonymous, right? So this has been made by somebody in the health profession. And I got 10,000 of these printed, and I've distributed a few of those as well. So, and I've been sending them out to people. So if anybody wants one, just go to that website, do the contact, and I'll send you them for nothing because people have sent me money, you see. So I use that money and I send out batches of leaflets to people that want them, that are going to give them out. And somebody gave out one of these and said it stopped them having the vaccine. So I think, I might have saved him at least saved him a sore arm at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, we've got about 3 minutes or so left. I memean, hopefully the people that are watching this that don't have our opinions, they're not offended by what we've said. But what we're saying, we've backed up with proof, and that's all that matters. I mean, at the end of the day, flu has disappeared. Hospital admissions were never what they were telling us they were. And we are not in a pandemic, at the risk of repeating ourselves. We are not in a pandemic. Andrew, I mean, this will probably be the last one we do on COVID for a while again until they next notch it up a bit. The roadmap is on the 29th of March, so in a week, we can now have people in your garden and all that stuff. And then I think on April, can't remember what day, but in April you can then go and start eating outside of the 12th of April. You can eat outside of restaurants and drink outside of pubs. And then in May...
we know what the stats are going to be on those dates, don't we, to allow us to do those things?
It will never happen. It will be pushed back and pushed back. And I'll eat one of the sideburns.
There hasn't been enough vaccine uptake, so we're going to have to delay everything until we get like 25% more people vaccinated or some other rubbish that they come out with.
Yeah, the goalposts constantly move. And again, for those watching that might be on the fence with this, the goalposts always move. And do you not find that suspicious? Do you not find that suspicious? Every time now they're trying to scare us with the new variants. We're going to have the I don't know, what have we got now? The South African variant, the Brazilian variant. We've got the I don't know, whatever next, the Timbuktu variant, and it's just not working. People aren't paying attention, so that now they're issuing.
I said they'll have one coming out of Mexico, and
yeah. I like that. But they've announced today that they're going to send 2 tests a week to every household in the UK. Firstly, who the hell is making money off these tests? Sending 2 tests a week to every household in the UK. Someone is making an absolute bomb. Secondly, what a way to keep the numbers up. On these tests that have huge false positives. What a way to keep this pandemic going. The more tests, the more positives, and therefore the more justification for continuing lockdown. But the problem is they've played their trump card because your vaccine, as I say, 99% of the vulnerable, 1 in every 2 adults. How much longer can this go on?
That's right. Yeah, and the testing, I've put that in the Ofcom complaint about the testing. I've got 3 links in there where you can basically show what the testing results are. and match it with the government's own statement on the testing and find that the test proves absolute zero. Nothing. They don't prove anything. They don't prove anyone's infected or dangerous to anybody else. They prove nothing. It's just a tool, like you said there, that they've used to further the agenda based around a pandemic that isn't a pandemic.
No, and we'll end on a statistic that I saw the other day, which was only yesterday, that Florida don't have mandated masks. They don't have any rules whatsoever in Florida, and infections and positive rate, shall we say, are down 75%. So let's all move to Florida and party on the beach and drink cocktails, because that's clearly the way to go. Yet in a country here where we've locked down, quite strict, and people have followed the rules, and now they're getting the jab. Nothing's happening. We're getting worse. In fact, we face a third wave, and it's all a bit of a joke. So we'll end on that, I think, Andrew. Thanks very much for coming on. As always, it's been a great chat. Thank you for showing all of the documents there. And again, anyone watching this, just do contact Andrew. Go to checktheevidence.com. Is it CV Pandemic
Investigation? Yeah, it all comes through
CV
to me.
Pandemic Investigate. If you go there, all the evidence is there. Contact Andrew for any, if you want to see any copies of what he's just shown you as well. That's right. Yeah, contact myself, and I can send you anything that I've got. Just don't sit on the fence anymore. Just look at the facts, look at the evidence, and really begin to see what's going on, because we can't do any more than show you now. Some people are beyond help, I think. But I hope you all enjoy the rest of your week, guys. Thank you for tuning in, as always. Next, I think I'm going to have a show next week, actually. Normally it's every 2 weeks, but I'm going to have David Oates on, who's going to come on and talk about reverse speech, which is fantastic. And he's been doing a lot of reverse speech on people like the royal family and Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And it's a really interesting concept, a really interesting subject. So look forward to that. Hopefully we can get the audio working through StreamYard. Should be good. But until next time, thank you very much and take care.